Hi, everybody. Welcome to Your Move, where we help you make better decisions and live with fewer regrets. I'm Andy Stanley, and I will be your guide. And today, we're talking about something that you can't see in the mirror, that may be lurking in your heart, dividing you from the people you love, and maybe sidelining you from the things that you care most about. In fact, this invisible, insidious disease may be keeping you from making a difference in the world. In fact, if you don't do something about it, it may deprive you of your only and your greatest opportunity to leave your mark on the world. Today, we're talking about greed. Greed is something that's easy to spot in others, but virtually impossible to spot in ourselves. I've never met anyone who would admit to being greedy, not because they're not being honest, because they just can't see it. And perhaps you can't see it either. I know I couldn't for a long time. Greed is hard to spot because greed masquerades as a virtue. Greedy people are savers, and saving is good. Greedy people are planners, and planning's good. And greedy people are careful with their money, and being careful is good. It's a good thing, right? Sure it is. But you can save and plan and be careful to the point that you become callous to the needs of the people around you. There's always a good reason not to be generous, or not to be as generous as we could be. So I want to do a quick, painful inventory. A few questions. Is it hard for you to give your hard-earned money away? Are you quick to make excuses with why you don't? Do you, and I used to do this, do you ask questions to make it look like you're just being a careful steward when in fact you're just looking for an excuse not to give? And when you do give, do you feel like the recipient somehow owes you something in return? Are there strings attached to your gifts? If you answered yes to any of those questions, there may be an element of greed lurking in your heart. Your family and friends may feel like they're competing with your stuff. They may feel like you value your stuff more than you value them. This is why greed is a relational wrecking ball. It eventually undermines trust and thus undermines relationships. Now, another interesting thing about greed is this. Greed knows no socioeconomic boundaries. I've met greedy poor people, I've met greedy middle-class people, and I've met greedy wealthy people. The amount of money a person has does not determine their greed because, and this is important, because greed is not a financial issue. Greed is a heart issue. But I will say, the poor are generally far less greedy than the non-poor. People who live on the edge financially are generally far more sensitive to the needs of people who are living on the edge and are often quicker to share and to be generous. Now, to be fair, I want to be fair, I'm not suggesting that you're heartless. You probably feel compassion every time you see or hear about someone in need. And in your heart, you really do want to help. But for some reason, and this is what we're talking about, for some reason, you hesitate, or you just don't do all you could do or should do. Something holds you back. It's greed. You don't feel greedy in the moment, but that's because greed is not a feeling. Greed is a refusal to act. It's a refusal to act in response to a need that you can meet. It probably won't come as a shock to learn that greed is fueled by fear. I think we all know that. The fear of not having enough, or the fear of not having as much as everybody else, which raises this important question that very few of us are ever willing to pause long enough to answer. And the question is, how much is enough? I mean, actually, I know the answer to that question. In fact, I know the answer to that question for you, even though we've never met. Do you know how much is enough for you? A little bit more than you currently have. A little bit more than you currently make, and a little bit more than you've currently saved, right? I mean, come on. More will always be the answer to the question of, is there enough? That's the vocabulary of greed. More. And I get it. I mean, we all want to feel secure financially. There are so many what ifs lurking in the back of our minds. What if I get sick? Or what if I lose my job? What if I lose my job again? What if my kids? What if my husband? What if my wife? What if the economy? But let's be honest, okay? Is it feasible for you to prepare for and protect yourself from every imaginable negative financial possibility? No, it's not. The good news is you can be a careful planner and saver and root out greed. You can be a saver and a planner and be generous all at the same time. And here's how. The solution may shock you, and if you struggle with greed, this may feel like a bitter pill to swallow, but it is one you will be so glad you swallowed. The antidote to greed is systematic, pre-planned, prioritized generosity. Let me repeat that. The antidote to greed is systematic, pre-planned, prioritized generosity. Here's what that looks like. You choose a percentage of your income that you're going to give away, not a dollar amount, a percentage, and then you choose where you're going to give it. And then you give every single time you get paid. It's systematic, it's pre-planned, and because you give as soon as you get paid, you've made it a priority. You don't give leftovers because, come on, let's be honest, when it comes to money, are there ever any leftovers? It's why we wonder, where did all the money go? Well, it went precisely where you sent it, and it all gets sent somewhere. Now, when people ask me where they should give, I always suggest they begin with these two questions. What am I grateful for, and what breaks my heart? What am I most grateful for, and what breaks my heart? So, what are you grateful for? What breaks your heart? Then you find an organization or two that fits those criteria, and you commit to give. Now, I realize this is a very different approach from the random acts of giving that you're accustomed to, but I want to be honest, random acts of giving, that's not generosity. That's random acts of giving. Greed hides behind random acts of giving. We say, see there, I'm not greedy, I gave. But that's like someone who's not really a good person saying, I'm a good person, look, I did something good. So choose a nonprofit organization that you get something from, maybe your kid's school, maybe your local church, or an organization that makes your community a better place. And then choose an organization that's addressing something big in the world, something that breaks your heart when you hear about it. Sandra and I are foster parents, and we give to an organization that supports foster kids because our hearts are broken over the plight of foster kids who are aging out of foster care. Now, the other thing I've learned along the way is this. It's better to give a lot to a few places than a little to several places. So pick one or two and then commit and start today. Commit for a month. And here's my prediction. You will not miss the money. We rarely miss money that we've given away. Saving prepares you to say yes to you in the future, but systematic generosity allows you to say yes to what's important to you right now. And when you approach generosity this way, you will make more thoughtful, intentional, strategic, less emotional giving decisions. And you'll feel better about saying no to every ask that comes along. Here's another thing I've learned. Generous people don't feel guilty saying no because they've already said yes. So give first, save second, and then just live on the rest. Give, save, live. Giving will bring you joy, you know that. Saving results in peace, and living on the rest, well, that's freedom. And if you commit to give, save, and live, you will root out greed. It cannot survive in that environment. Now, as we wrap up, I want you to think about something. Imagine if you had been doing this all along. Imagine you've been doing this for years. Or to make it more concrete, imagine having a checking account right now with all the money you've wasted, gambled away, bad habited away, dumb debted away, credit carded away, the money that you spent on things you don't use or even have anymore. Imagine all the good you could do if you had all that money back in a checking account. Here's the thing. You've robbed yourself once of doing that good. Don't do that again. Decide to live generously. Jesus said it this way, it is more blessed to give than receive. And he was absolutely right. Generous people are happier people. So decide today. Make a plan, stick with it for a month, and then evaluate. Generosity is a discipline. It's not a feeling. Just like you don't wait until you get into shape before you start exercising, you don't wait to become a generous person before you start giving. Exercising is how you get into shape. Systematic giving is how you become a generous person. It's the discipline that breaks the power of greed. It breaks what I call the consumption assumption, the assumption that everything that comes my way is just for me. That's a bad assumption, and it's a bad way to live. So pick a percentage. Begin with 2 or maybe 5%. Then choose a couple of organizations. Go online and sign up to give. Again, you won't miss the money, but you will experience the joy. And in doing so, you're saying goodbye to greed and goodbye to fear. That's what it looks like, and that's what it feels like to live generously. And now, it's your move.